going on, Raptors family? Editor Sif checking in. Just want to provide a disclaimer that at some point in this video I'll be talking about Immanuel Quickley's injury. Immanuel Quickley actually suffered a right pelvic contusion, which I only found out after the whole recording was done, and unfortunately I could not update you all while I was in the recording process. So as always, I hope Immanuel Quickley has a speedy recovery, and I look forward to seeing him play relatively soon. Now, enjoy the video. What's going on, Raptors family? Sif checking in, and as you probably know, the Raptors 2024 to 2025 season has officially started, with our first matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers coming to an end, and unfortunately the Raptors came away with the loss in this game. But with that being said though, there are some noticeable things that were presented in this game that we could use for the games to come, which we'll be discussing in this video. So without further ado, let's get started. First off, let's give credit where credit is due, and in today's matchup that would be Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers. As you may or may have not known, Evan Mobley had, for lack of a better word, an underwhelming end to his season last year, and this trickled into his playoffs because the Cleveland Cavaliers ended up losing and getting eliminated in the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Now, with this being said though, I believe that based on the Cleveland Cavaliers result that they experienced at that time, it had a very big impact on Evan Mobley's summer, because going into this matchup today, he was basically doing everything at an all-time high level, almost as though he understood what was at stake and he understood what he needed to do to ensure that the Cleveland Cavaliers were successful. It actually grew to the point where you could say that Evan Mobley was taking over the game all by his lonesome. The performance that Evan Mobley provided today is something that should be respected, because that is what you really want from any big man on any NBA team. When the shot is going up, you expect your big men to effectively grab the rebound so that they can either do a putback slam or layup or whatever, or initiate the fast break. And on the defensive end, what Evan Mobley did well was he made sure that not only he had a defensive presence, but also because of his very long wingspan, whenever any Raptors decided to drive into the paint to attack and cause fouls, he used his very long wingspan to deny the ball, not only giving him more confidence as the game continued, but it also energized the Cleveland Cavaliers. So much so that right after the first quarter ended, this momentum to create a snowball effect, and somehow they not only chopped at the lead that the Raptors had, but they've extended it so much so that by the time the fourth quarter came, it was already a double-digit lead, and they just kept ballooning it over and over again, to the point where no matter what the Raptors did at that point, there's no way of extinguishing that flame. And ultimately, the Cleveland Cavaliers came away with the win. So kudos to Evan Mobley for leading the charge in this battle and ensuring that no matter what happens, Cleveland would get the win. On the flip side, for the Toronto Raptors, there are some positives that can be taken away from this game. And the two positives for the Raptors are two specific players. Number one is Immanuel Quickley, and number two is Jamal Shead. Firstly, for Immanuel Quickley, before I talk about his positives though, prayers up to Immanuel Quickley, because he suffered an injury, I believe a lower back injury, in the second quarter, and there's no new information on what type of injury it was, as well as the time he's going to be out. So hopefully it's not too serious and Immanuel Quickley will be able to play at a competitive level in the games to come. Now, with that being said though, in terms of what I liked from Immanuel Quickley today, he basically showed that he was a leader for the Raptors, and more specifically, he showed why he was a leader for the Raptors. I mean, in terms of the Raptors this season, the three leaders that we have being Scotty Barnes, Immanuel Quickley, and RJ Barrett, all of those three need to understand that they not only are they playing for the team, but they're also the way they play is going to trickle down to the rest of the team. And today he understood that very quickly, because he knew that in order to have a really good chance of playing against Cleveland and hopefully winning, we needed to attack the paint and draw fouls against them. And so what did Immanuel Quickley do? Every chance that he got while he was playing, whether that be through turnovers or defensive rebounds or whatever the case was, he was always attacking the paint and drawing as much fouls as he can. Obviously, some of the attempts that he did got blocked due to the center's massive wingspan and other things of that nature. But for the most part, he kept following the same game plan in hopes that his efforts will trickle down to the rest of the team. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case, because at the time that Immanuel Quickley got injured, the game already blew up in the Raptors' face, and by that point, the Raptors switched from playing as a cohesive unit to playing iso ball, which allowed Cleveland to just take home the win. But I say that to say that Immanuel Quickley did a very fine job being a leader in today's game, and I believe that is one of the positives that was taken from the game today for the Raptors. Now, the other positive for the Raptors is Jamal Shead. Now, granted, he's a rookie coming into the season, but based on how he was playing in today's matchup, you can really sense that he really wants to impact the team in a winning way more often than not. I mean, even with Immanuel Quickley going down in the second quarter, his momentum for attacking the rim or being a defensive presence has not wavered at all. In fact, I feel like it increased, because with one less player going down because of injury, it meant that someone or a collective of guys had to take the reins and attempt to bring home the victory. And Jamal Shead in today's game was a prime example of that. He hit down a couple of threes, he attacked the rim, but most importantly, he was a defensive presence, and he was a defensive headache for the other team, which we could greatly benefit going forward, because with Jamal Shead, this is his first game, remember. He's only going to get better, so as long as he continues to be a defensive presence and find more ways to really get into the opponent's head, as well as on the offensive end, find more ways to attack, whether that be attacking the glass, using a little bit more mid-range, or even like settling three when it's wide open. I think that as the season continues, we'll have a better chance of utilizing Jamal Shead in more situations and even bringing him into the game earlier in the game, as he could really make his case for being the backup point guard for Immanuel Quickley whenever he needs a breather. So yeah, that is the second positive that the Raptors took out of this game, which is Jamal Shead. Now that we talked about the positives for the Toronto Raptors, let's talk about what the Raptors would need to do going forward for future games. Then the first thing that I believe the Raptors should fix for future games is we need to have a better understanding, or Raptors need to have a better understanding of what type of playstyle is needed for what type of opponent. For example, in today's matchup, as we saw, the Cleveland Cavaliers were planning to have a very post-dominant present type of game, and that was done by Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. So to counter this, what the Raptors should have done is they should have found a way to either match Cleveland's energy by having lengthy players on the floor whenever Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen were on the floor, or when it was subbed off, have one Raptors lengthy player be on at a time. Or the other option would be to find some way to limit the Cleveland Cavaliers from getting momentum using this playstyle, which unfortunately the Raptors did not do in time, because by the time they tried to stop the momentum from going haywire, it was already ballooning so much that the whole Cleveland Cavaliers team was able to ride the momentum provided by Evan Mobley to secure the win. So going forward, I believe that if the Raptors understand what type of play style they want to do at the very beginning of the game and use that play style throughout the whole game, we will have a much more effective chance of winning the game and ultimately making sure that the opponent does not have any opportunities to come back into the game even with the refs calling favors for them, if that is the case. The second improvement that I would like the Raptors to do going into the future games of the season is I would like the Raptors passing to be a little more crisp and effective, because throughout this whole game, even though we started off pretty strong in terms of our passing, as the game continued and we saw that the lead started to not only get chipped away, but also the opponent's lead started to blow up in our face, we switched from passing the ball to each other to playing a more ISO-centric game, which for the Raptors, unfortunately, in our current state, is a very disastrous way to play, because essentially we're playing hero ball, which goes against Coach Darko's whole coaching style, which we would not want that. So if we fine-tuned our passing to the point where no matter the situation, we knew exactly how to pass to one another, or the Raptors knew exactly how they could pass the ball to each other, not only in a full court fast break setting, but even doing it in a half court setting, it would really help the Raptors understand what needed to be done for each specific team, and the adjustment that needs to be done throughout the game can be better done, because we'll have a solid foundation to go off and fine tune from there. So that is the second thing that I believe that the Raptors could do going forward for the games to come. Final improvement that I would like to see the Raptors do going into the future games of this season is we need to do a better job of effectively rebounding the basketball. This is very important because I know that no matter whoever we face, the opponent team is not going to be able to make 100% of their shots. So in the cases where they do miss, we need to be able to effectively rebound, so that not only can it help us start a fast break or stop our opponent possession from happening, but also it will give our players confidence to be more involved in the play. This is because not grabbing rebounds causes especially our big men to feel left out, and in turn their energy is not at par with a person such as like a point guard who is constantly going up and down, giving 100% of their efforts. So I believe that as we continue to rebound, whether that be a point guard or a center, it will indirectly cause everybody else to rebound, and because of that we'll have more opportunities to score and make the most of our possessions. So that is something that I feel that we definitely need to improve going into the rest of the games this season, and I hope it's something that is really expressed during practice. So yeah, that is my final improvement that I would like to see from the Raptors going into the future games of this season. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Raptors versus Cleveland Cavaliers season opener game. Obviously the Raptors are learning a lot this season, but that being said, it is important that the Raptors do not make the same mistakes that they made in previous games, because doing so, I believe from personal experience, will just have a psychological effect on the Raptors players in a very negative way, to the point where they will just not have the courage to play at the hardest level as the season continues. So hopefully they will implement the improvements that I suggested earlier in this video in their game plan going forward, but we'll have to see what type of adjustments or improvements that they do in the games to come. So with that being said, if you like this kind of content and found it very informative, give me one of these, smash that subscribe button and hit that bell to let YouTube know that love these type of content. And without further ado, until the next video, Civ signing out.